Okay, in this station we will discuss the lateral compartment of the leg, what is known also as the peroneal compartment, and the dorsum of the foot. Okay, regarding the lateral compartment of the leg, it is the area that bounded anteriorly by this is anterior intermuscular septum, and this septum separates the lateral compartment from the anterior compartment. Okay, and posteriorly it's separated by this another septum. This is called the posterior intermuscular septum. Okay, as you can see it here clearly, and the posterior intermuscular septum separates the lateral compartment from the posterior compartment. Okay, and the compartment, as in any other compartment of the leg, it is roofed by the deep fascia of the leg. It is known as the crural fascia, and it lies against the peroneal surface of the fibula. Okay, it contains the number of two muscles, namely the peroneus longus and peroneus brevis, and it contains the nerve of the compartment, which is the superficial peroneal nerve. Okay, and this compartment it has no vascular structures. Okay, it doesn't contain the peroneal vessels within the compartment, but the peroneal vessels, which is branches from the posterior tibial vessel, supply this compartment through perforating branches that pierces the posterior intermuscular septum and enter the compartment. So we are expecting to see the muscles and the nerve. Okay, then let us see the first one. As you can see here, this is a tendon. Okay, this muscle is the peroneus longus muscle. Okay, you can see it here. This is the peroneus longus muscle. The peroneus longus muscle takes its origin from the upper 2/3 of the peroneal surface or the lateral surface of the fibula, and from the intermuscular septum, and from the upper aspect of the tibia. Okay, the condyles of the tibia. It passes downwards and superficial to the other muscle, which is the peroneus brevis. You can see it here clearly. This is the peroneus brevis, and these both tendon passing here behind this structure. This is the lateral malleolus, with the peroneus brevis grooves the lateral malleolus from behind. Okay, then when we see the bone, when we study the osteology, the groove behind the lateral malleolus is formed by the peroneus brevis and not the longus. So this muscle has, or this muscle, two muscles have an overlapping in the middle, because the upper from the upper 2/3 and the lower from the lower 2/3. Okay, in the middle third they are overlapped with each other, as you can see it here clearly. Okay, this is the area of overlapping. Regarding the final destination, the peroneus longus muscle will passes here down and behind the medial malleolus towards the sole of the foot, and it traverses the whole length of the sole of the foot to be inserted edge by edge on the lateral aspect of the medial cuneiform and the base of the first metatarsal, together with the tibialis anterior muscle. Okay, which attached to the medial aspect of the same structures. The peroneus brevis passes downwards behind the lateral malleolus, and it passes here below this structure. It is called the peroneal retinaculum. Okay, peroneal retinaculum, and actually peroneal retinaculum covers both tendons to prevent their divergence when the muscle pull the foot in action, and these structures prevent the fanning of these tendons. Okay, the peroneus brevis will eventually attaches to the tuberosity of the fifth metatarsal bone. Okay, then these are the two muscles that forms the lateral compartment of the leg. Regarding their action, both are everters of the foot. Okay, they cause eversion of the foot, and they are weaker plantar flexion, okay, weaker plantar flexor of the ankle joint. Another action, they are maintaining the lateral longitudinal arch, especially the peroneus longus muscle, okay. So this compartment supplied by this nerve. As you can see, this nerve comes from the deep aspect and it is cut here, because this is a superficial peroneal nerve. It is the second branch of the common peroneal nerve, and following it is interesting to the peroneus longus muscle. It divided into anterior into a deep branch and superficial branch. The deep, as we have already said in the previous station, supplies the anterior compartment, and the superficial provides motor innervation for the lateral compartment. Then about the 2/3 of the leg down, it pierces the deep fascia to become cutaneous, and it has a very important cutaneous distribution to the sole of the foot, and we will see it in few seconds, okay. So these about the superficial peroneal nerve. Regarding the vessels, as I said, the compartment takes its blood supply through perforators, and these perforators are branches of the peroneal artery, and the peroneal artery is a branch from the posterior tibial artery that is found in the posterior compartment of the leg, and we will see it in the next station, okay. So this is all about the lateral compartment of the leg, and let us see together in this station the dorsum of the foot. Regarding the dorsum, you have already discussed the muscles that comes from the anterior compartment and the lateral compartment, and as I said, there is a longus or long muscles and brevis muscle. The brevis or the short muscles confined to the region of the foot, and longus comes from above, and the tendon passes to the distal attachment, okay. So you can see here clearly this is called the dorsum of the foot, and this is the toes, and the skin of the distal toes remained undissected, okay. And you can see here clearly this tendon. It is called the tendon of the extensor hallucis longus, okay. When you pull this tendon gently, it causes dorsiflexion, okay, or extension of the big toe, okay. This is the extension of the big toe. This is the second tendon. This is a common tendon, firstly, for the extensor digitorum longus, and when it passes below the extensor retinaculum and enters the dorsum of the foot, it is divided into number of 4 tendons, right? This is the first one, this is the second one, this is the third one, and this is the fourth one. And these 4 tendons distributed to the lateral 4 toes, and when it contracts, you can pull it gently, okay. It causes dorsiflexion of the lateral 4 toes. Secondarily, both the longus or the extensor hallucis longus and the extensor digitorum longus, both when contract secondarily they causes dorsiflexion of the foot at the ankle joint, okay. Another tendon to follow is this tendon, and it is the tendon of the peroneus tertius, and as I have already said, it is part of the extensor digitorum longus that will eventually attach to the upper surface of the humerus metatarsal, okay. And when it contracts, it causes eversion of the foot and dorsiflexion of the ankle joint. Now let us see this short muscle. You can see here this is a belly of muscle, right? This is known as the extensor digitorum brevis. So when we have longus, then we have a brevis, right? And this extensor digitorum brevis takes its origin from the calcaneus here, dorsal surface of the calcaneus, and it passes medially, okay, and distally towards the toes. And actually this muscle will be distributed to only the 4 medial toes, including the big toe, and the lateral one, it doesn't have any brevis tendon. The distribution to the first or to the big toe is this one. It is known as the extensor hallucis brevis. And the extensor hallucis brevis, actually, it is a part of the extensor digitorum brevis that distributed to the base of the middle phalanx of the big toe. Okay. Regarding the other tendon or the other tendons of this brevis, you can see it here clearly. This one for the second, this one for the third, and this one for the fourth toe. And when we pull these tendons, it causes dorsiflexion of the toes. Okay. So generally these structures or the tendons and muscles that you can see it in the dorsum of the foot. Lastly but not the least, we have this muscle. You can see it from here, and we'll discuss it when we will discuss the interossei. This is called the dorsal interosseous muscles. Okay. Interosseous, that means in between two bones. This is called the first dorsal interosseous muscle. It's found between the first and the second, and this is the second one. Okay, here. This is the third one. This is the fourth one. Okay, they are known as the dorsal interosseous muscles, and we will discuss it when we discuss the foot in the next practical sessions. Okay, regarding the neurovascular structures, we have this artery superiorly here. It was known as the firstly known as the anterior tibial artery, and when we put a line between the two malleoli, the medial and lateral malleolus, it changes its name to become the dorsalis pedis artery. Here it is known as the dorsalis pedis artery. You can see clearly and very nicely here the accompanying veins known as the veni comitans. Okay. Then at the distal part of the leg, the tendon of the extensor hallucis longus crosses the neurovascular structures, okay, to become on its medial aspect. So when we feel the pulsation of the dorsalis pedis, actually we are pulsating it against the tarsus bone here, and just lateral to the tendon of the extensor hallucis longus, okay, and medial to the tendon of the extensor digitorum longus, as you can see it here clearly. Then when you feel the pulsation, it is between these two tendons. It passes further forward, or at this area it gives these branches, okay, as you can see here and here. This is known as the medial and lateral tarsal branches, or medial and lateral tarsal arteries, okay, that supplies the area of the tarsus, and it passes further forward, okay. Here it will give the first, you can see this vessel, it is known as the first dorsal metatarsal artery, okay. This is one of the branches of the dorsalis pedis artery, lying deep here, okay, just at the base of the first web space here, at the base between the two metatarsals. It is known as, here you can see this deep structure, it is known as the deep plantar artery. It is the continuation of the dorsalis pedis artery that will passes to the sole of the foot in order to contribute to the deep plantar arch that is responsible for blood supply, to provide the blood supply for the sole. It meets the lateral plantar artery, okay, to complete the arch. Okay, before it enters into the dorsum, it gives another branches, but unfortunately it's found deep here. It is known as the arcuate artery, and the arcuate will give the branches known as the metatarsal arteries, okay, and then the metatarsus will give the digital or the dorsal digital arteries, okay. Regarding the cutaneous innervation of this area, the most of the skin of the dorsum of the foot is supplied by the superficial peroneal nerve. The superficial peroneal, as it emerges from deep to a superficial position at the distal leg, it passes downwards here on the dorsum of the foot to supply most of the dorsum of the foot here, okay, and it's also supply the medial aspect of the big toe distal to the peroneal region, and it supplies the second, third, and fourth cleft. Okay, second, third, and fourth cleft. The lateral aspect of the foot here is supplied by the sural nerve, and the medial aspect of the foot just posterior or behind the peroneal region, it's supplied by the saphenous nerve. The first web space and the skin around it, it's supplied by the deep peroneal nerve. Okay, so last thing to mention that we have what is known as the dorsal venous arch, and it is a subcutaneous venous arch that extends across the heads of the metatarsals, and on its medial aspect we have the continuation or the beginning of the great saphenous vein that eventually passes in front of the medial malleolus. You can see it in another view next time, and it passes on the medial aspect towards the this distribution, or it is draining into the femoral vein higher up. Okay, on the lateral aspect it gives the beginning of the small saphenous that passes behind the lateral malleus and eventually join the popliteal vein at the popliteal fossa. Okay, so this is all about the lateral compartment of the leg and the dorsum of the foot, and by this we conclude this station. Okay.